In this session, we are going to see another two built-in functions to read and write to the file, and then we will see some certain programs based on file handling. So this function, so we have seen till now, to read from the file, we can use fgetc to read a character from the file. So character by character we can read, or if we want to read a string, we can use fgetS or fscanf to read from the file, to read the content of the file. But if we want to write certain content, what we'll do? Correspondingly, we can use fputc to write a character inside the file. So character by character we can write. Or if we want to write a string inside the file, then fputs or fprintf. Okay. Similarly, another function for the same is by using the fread function to read the content of the file, and you can store it in some memory or in some variable. Okay, so we'll directly see an example and then we'll see the actual generalized syntax. So here you have an array which is acting as a string because the data type of the array is char. So a character array is nothing but a string. Here the name of the string is buffer and its size is 20, means total 19 characters plus one null character can be stored. File asterisk stream means this is the file pointer whose name is stream. This time it is not fp, it is stream. Okay, anything you can name it, not compulsory stream. You can call it fp or anything else also. Just like how you name a variable. It is a pointer to a type of file. So using this pointer, you can open a file and access that file using this fopen function. And which file you're opening in the read mode? The file.txt file. Now you have to call the fread function to read the content of file.txt file. So you must pass the address of this buffer array. Now, in arrays or in strings, if we pass the name of the array buffer, then or any name of the array, then it is nothing but like passing the address of that array. So ampersand is not compulsory over here. We have seen this earlier, right? If you write ampersand array name, means the address of the first element of the array, which is nothing but the address of the array, starting address of the array, that we have to pass. Even if you don't write ampersand, only array name you are passing, that also indicates that you're passing the address of the array, and address of array is nothing but address of first element of the array. Address of array is nothing but starting address of the array, the address at which the array elements will be started to store. Next parameter that you have to pass is size of the data type of the array. Data type of the array is here what? Char. So size of char. And total how many elements this array can hold? 20 elements. So that is the third parameter. And the last parameter is the file pointer's name, that is stream in this case. Right? So 4 parameters: address of the data structure, that is address of the array, then data type ka size, that is character size, that is the second parameter, then the number of elements of the array, and then the file pointer. Okay, so using this, what you have been able to do, you have been able to store the complete array inside the file. Okay, and then you have to close the file. And just a minute. Yeah, and now this count is nothing but the number of elements stored in this string. Now see here, we know that if the size of the string is 20, then it is not compulsory to store 20 elements only or 20 characters only. If the size, if it is an array, a character array especially, if it is a character array of size 5, that means maximum we can store 4 elements, and last character by default is null character. So I may store elements A, B, C, and D. Okay, so I am able to store 4 elements. Okay, but I may be able to store even less than 4 elements. For example, I'm considering the same example in which maximum I can store my own 4 elements and last character is null character. So I may be able to store 3 elements or suppose 2 elements, A and B. Then what will happen? Null character by default will be inserted by the compiler after B, that is after the last character. And these two spaces will remain vacant or they'll not be considered because null character is over here. So string will be terminated at this position. So you can store less than 5 elements also. That is, you can store 4 elements, 3 elements, 2 elements, or even 1 element. Right? So what is happening here in this program is int count equal to function call. So what this function call will return? The total number of characters that are actually getting stored. Here maximum 20 characters that we have passed as the third parameter. But in reality, we may store less than 20 characters. So the actual number of characters that we store, that will be written or it will be returned to this count variable. Right? So what is the buffer doing? The buffer is the string in which maximum you can read 20 characters or actually 19 because last character is null. Okay, so if the content of the file consists of 19 characters, then it can be stored easily in this buffer array. If the content of the file consists of 50 characters, then only the first 19 characters will be able to get stored in this buffer array. If the content of the file is 100 characters, then only first 19 characters will be stored in this buffer array or string. Suppose there are 5 elements or there are 5 characters in the file, then 5 characters will be stored in this buffer array or string. Okay, so the actual content of the file, how many characters, that will be returned in this count variable. Okay, and then you have to close this file by fclose function, and then data read from the file. Since it is a string, we can display it like this. So whatever content of the file is there, it will get stored in this buffer array, and then we have, which is the string, and we are printing this string, displaying the string. And how many elements were read from the file, that will be stored in count, right? Because that is what is storing the value returned by the function fread. So now let me run this program. Before that, let me show you what the content of the file is. The content of the file is hello world. Okay, and when I run this program, as you can see in hello world, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 characters. Right, so actual content of the file is consisting of 12 characters which are being read, and the data of the file is hello world. So how you're getting the output? The output is coming from the array, that is whatever is getting stored in the array. Data read from the file is getting stored in the buffer string, and that we are displaying over here. And then we are displaying the actual number of elements that are getting read. I hope you understood this. Now let me increase the content of the file. So I've increased the content of the file, and let's see what happens now. So as you can see, what is happening? Hello world, how are? Only that is getting read because that much consists of 19 characters. Okay, and the total elements will be read will be 19 plus 1, that is, it will be considering the 20 characters, right? Because last one character is end of file character. So it is reading 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah, so it is reading till R. These are the 20 characters which are getting read. So that is, after that, whatever is the extra content, that will not be able to get stored in this buffer array because maximum 20 characters, that is 19 characters you can store, right? So the size of the array should be increased for this if you want to read the content of the file. So either you can first count the content of the file, first you read the file and then count the number of characters in the file, and then you can use this fread function, or you can store some extra space for your array. Like suppose 100 is the size of my character array. Now when I run this program, see you're getting certain extra. Just a minute. Here also we have to change it to 100, right? Here it was 20, so the third parameter was 20. Now we change it to 100, so third parameter should be 100. So it is reading extra content now, okay? And it is able to read 66 elements, because that much is the total content of my file. Whatever I've written in my file, total it is 66 elements. So array size or string size can be more, but it can accommodate lesser data also. 100 is the size, I can store 66 characters. 100 is the size of my string, I can store 99 characters. 100 is the size of my string, I can store 5 characters also. So here I am storing 66 characters. Okay, so I hope you have understood this. Similarly, you have another way, that is you can read a particular integer also from the file. Now we have read the string from the file using fread function. Now we can read a particular integer value. Okay. So for writing an integer to the file, first we have to write the integer and then only we will be able to read it, right? In the previous example, I had already written something in my file and I just read it. Now I'm going to write in my file using fwrite function, and then I'm going to read the content whatever I have written using fwrite. So what is being done here? There's an integer value and the value of the integer is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I have a int buffer over here, and here an int store 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm opening a file in the write mode using fwrite function. As I mentioned that this is a simple variable, integer variable, so you must specify the address by using ampersand variable name. Then this data type of this data is what? Integer. So size of int. And how many integers? This is just a single integer value that you want to write. So 1, for writing one integer. And then the file pointer, that is stream. Okay. And then close. So what you have done, by calling this function, you have successfully written this integer value 1, 2, 3, 4 inside your file. Now I will open the file in read mode, and then same syntax, that is you have to you suppose you don't know that, so you are using the int buffer over here, so another integer value. The int store, what you did, this store variable you used so that you can write the value 1, 2, 3, 4 inside the file. Now you have to use another integer variable, say buffer, in which you will be able to read the integer value from your file, and you will be able to store the integer value from your file into this buffer variable. Okay, syntax is similar. Address of that variable, size of the data type of the content of the file that we are reading is an integer value from the file, and then how many integers? One integer, and the file name, file pointer name. And then you can say I have read the content, or you can say integer read is the value of the buffer, because whatever is the integer value from the file that we have extracted will be stored in this buffer variable, and we are going to print the value of buffer, and then close your file. So let me run this. So code is getting executed and the output is content or integer read is 1, 2, 3, 4. So to confirm this, you can also check the file content. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 will get stored in the file. So we have seen using fread and fwrite how we can read or write the arrays or strings or a single value also. In case of arrays or strings, you must specify the total number of elements, that is the size of the array. Suppose size of the array is 20, means you can store 20 elements. then instead of 1 here you must write 20. But if it is a single variable like integer, float, or double, then you must write 1 over here, right? So this is fread and fwrite. I hope you have understood this program. Now let us see certain programs. Now this program is used to copy the content from one file to another file. Right, in the previous session, I had asked you all to try this program, right? To read the content from one file and to write that content of the file into another file. That means you're reading from file 1 and you're writing the content of file 1 in file 2. So file 1 is opened in read mode to read the content of file 1, and file 2 will be opened in write mode to write the content of file 1 inside file 2. So that's that program we are going to see now. I hope you have tried it from your side. So this is the solution of that program is open the file 1. Suppose I've called the file 1 as source. Means the file pointer to that file is I've named it as source. And the file pointer to the file 2 is dest. That means destination. So you have a source file from which you will read, and whatever you read, that content should be written into a file. You can call that file as the destination file. So from the source to the destination, the content has to be copied. So the name of the file 1, suppose I call it source file.txt. I open it in read mode. And the file 2 to which I have to write, suppose I call it destination file.txt, open it in write mode. So you're working with two files simultaneously. Now we have to, suppose I'm reading character by character. I've told you that you can read string by string, or you can use fread or fwrite and so on. But suppose I'm reading character by character, then I will use fgetC function. And from which file I have to read? From the source file. What is the file pointer of the source file? Source is the file pointer. So I have to pass the file pointer to the fgetC function, and it is source I have passed over here. And whatever is the character from the file, that will be read and will be stored in a variable character in file. This whole thing is the name of a variable, right? A character variable. I have declared it over here. Not necessary such a big name you have to give. You can also call this ch if you want. You can call this ch is equal to, so whatever character is read from the file will be stored in the variable ch. Okay. Or just for your understanding, I have written character in the file is whatever you get from fgetC, right? So character in file. And then whatever I have read, if I want, I can print it out, right? Just for understanding that what character has been read. Now, if the character in the file is end of file character, then I have to break, right? Let me just put this statement over here. So I'm first reading a character from the file. If it is an end of file character, then I will break. Otherwise, if it is not end of file character, then I will do certain operation. That means I will print out the character that I have read. Then this character I have to write inside my file. So I will call fputc function. Okay, I will call fputc function. And inside fputc, the parameter that I have to pass is the character which I want to write. Which character I want to write? The character which is stored in character in file variable. So that character name I'm passing here, the variable name, and then the file pointer is what? Dest. Why? Because in the file 2, that is the destination file, I want to write this character. So the file pointer will be dest. And then just for understanding, I want to print out the character which I'm writing. So for that, what I'll do, as I've mentioned, what value will be returned by this file? If I return something from this fputc, it is the character which I have written to my file. So whatever value is returned by fputc is nothing but this same thing, that is character in file. Okay, so I'm storing that in a character to write. That means character which is written in my file. You can also call this a, suppose. So whatever character you're going to insert in your file, that same character will be returned in a variable. Okay, or in this case, instead of a variable, I'm writing character to write. This is my file. So character in the file, I have read it. And now I have written it. But what I have written, that is the character to write. In that variable, it will be stored. So character written in the file is character to write. Okay. It is just a variable in which whatever character you're writing, that will be stored. Right. And then I'm printing one just a message that user should come to know that file copy operation is successfully completed. So when I run this program, and one more thing is that you're reading from the source file. Okay, so there should be some content in the source file. So either you write some content to your source file and then read the source file, or you manually do it. That means in your directory, what you should do in your directory, you should create a text file. You can do it manually also, like how I'm doing here. Call it source file. Okay. And then in the source file, you can write certain content. Okay. I just copy some content. And in this source file, I'm going to store this content. Okay. So there is some content in my source file. Manually, I have written the content. But using your programming also you can do, right? We have seen how to write certain content to a file. So first you write certain content in your source file, and then read the source file and copy the content of source file in destination file. Or manually you can write certain content just like how I did now, and then read it and store it in the destination file. So I'll run this program now. And as you can see, what is happening in my while loop, first I will obtain the character which is in my source file, and then I'm printing character read from the file is this one. What is the content of my source file? The content of my source file is Mount Everest is Earth's highest mountain, and so on. So what is the first character? M. So that character M has been read over here. And then what is happening? Character written to the file is, I'm printing the character which I have written to my file. Which character I have written? M only. I have read the character M, so I have written the character M. Next, what I'll do, which is the next character in my file? O. So I have read the character O from the source file, and I have written the character O to my destination file. That is why you're getting M and M twice over here. You will read the character and then write the character immediately. Read the character, write the character. Why? Because character by character, we are going to do the operation of copying the content from one file to another file. So then total mount is copied. The first word is done. Next, what you have a space. So that is why character read from the file is space and character written to the file is space. Then what you have? Everest. You will write it. After Mount Everest, what is there? Why you are getting this line empty over here? Because after this Mount Everest, you have a new line character is inserted over here, right? If you press your enter key, it is nothing but you are inserting a new line character in your file. So that is why I've gone on the next line. So there is a new line character here. That is why the character read from the file is a new line character. So if I want to display the character, which is a new line character, if I want to display a new line character, the cursor will go on the next line of the output window, right? That is why you're getting this line break over here. And the character returned to the file is \n, that is new line character. But the \n, that character will not be seen over here, right? We don't want to see \n in our file, but we can have \n in the program code. So instead of seeing \n over here, what you can see is when you press the enter key, you're going on the next line. You have to assume it is a \n character. That is why when you're reading that \n character, it is printing an empty line over here, right? So character written to the file is \n. Similarly, you will read everything. See, this apostrophe is being read over here. Where is that in my source file? This one, Earth's. Okay. And then finally, you give the full stop over here. Right? Last character is full stop, right? In my source file that has been read. And then file copy operation successful. Right? Now, just one small point of interest. See my cursor in here where it is the end full stop. Over here is my cursor. So if I press enter key now, I've gone on the next line. So you can assume that there is a \n over here. Okay. But it will not be visible to the reader of the file. So there is a backslash n character over here, new line character. So now when I read my file, and when I need to save this source file. Let me save it by clicking Ctrl S or File and Save. And now when I run my program, as you can see, after the full stop, I have another backslash n over here, right? So that is getting read over here. See, you're getting a line break over here. In the previous output, we didn't have that line break. After this full stop, directly the message file operation successful, copy operation. But now the last character read is the backslash n, that is the new line character. And after that, you're going to print that character, new line character, and then file copy operation successful. So I hope you understood that whenever you press the enter key in your file, it is nothing but backslash n character. That is why when you print that character, it is going on the next line inside your output window. I hope this program is understood by you. Now next is, if we want to count the number of words, spaces, characters, or sentences in the file, what we can do. So to count certain elements in the file, or to get to know what are the characteristics of the file, that means how many words are in my file, how many sentences are in my file, how many characters are in my file, and so on. So suppose I'm opening a file, the name of the file is counter file 1. Okay, it's not this program, just a minute. It's this program only. So now I will check whether the opening of the file is successful or not, right, by using this logic. And now I have certain variables which will store the count of the number of spaces in my file. This new line variable will store the number of lines in my file. This words variable will store the total number of words in my file. This characters variable will store the total number of characters written in my file. And this sent variable will store the total number of sentences in my file. Okay. So I will increment these variables by performing certain operation in my while loop. Right, I'm going to read my file character by character, as you can see here, using the fgetC function. And whenever I read a character, I must check whether it is end of file. If yes, then I will break from my while loop and program over, terminated. But if it is not an end of file character, that means else if condition. If it is a space, that means the character that I'm reading from the file using fgetC will be stored in the C character variable that I've declared over here. Now, if the value of the C variable is an end of file character, then break. Otherwise, if the value of the C character variable is a space. Now, each character, it is a single character, so you must write within single quote. If it is a string, then double quote. It is a single character, so within single quote, what is a space actually? How you must specify space, single quote, then single quote, space, and one more a space over here, right? Between two single quotes, if you give a space, means it is a space character. Between two single quotes, if you give backslash n, means new line character, right? So if it is a space, then this spaces variable will be incremented by plus plus. Otherwise, if it is a backslash n, then the new line variable means it is a new line I'm using in my file that will get incremented. Or you can call it simply line variable also. Anything. You can name your variable anything, but you should know what it means. Now, if it is a full stop or logical or operator I've used, or if it is an exclamation mark, or if it is a question mark, all these are characters within single quote. If you have any of these characters, means it is a complete sentence, right? How do we write sentences? If I want to write any sentence, then how do I write it? I may either write suppose the sentence is good morning folks, and then I'll give a full stop. So it indicates that my sentence is complete. This is one sentence. Or I may give an exclamation mark, means this is also a complete sentence. Otherwise, I may give a question mark. Suppose, did you drink water? Question mark. Then this indicates the completion of one sentence. The last character can be a question mark, means this whole thing is one sentence. Or if the last character is an exclamation mark or full stop, that also means it is a complete sentence. So that is why else if any of these characters you find in your file, then increment the sent variable, means number of sentences you are incrementing by the variable. And by default, all these are characters. So if you read a character from your file, then simply increment the characters variable, right? Because you also want to count the total number of characters in your file. So whenever you read a character using fgetc, increment the characters variable. There is no condition on incrementing the total number of characters in your variable file. Total number of characters will be what? It can be a space also. That character can be a new line character also. That character can be a full stop. That character can be a exclamation mark. That character can be a question mark. If any character it is, increment the characters variable. There is no condition imposed on this characters variable. Increment it whenever you read a character from your file. Okay. Anytime if you read a character from your file, simply increment your characters variable to count the total number of characters. But only if the character is a space, then increment the space ka variable. Only if the character is a new line character, then increment the new line character variable. If the character is a full stop, exclamation or question mark, only then increment the cent variable, right? But by default, everything is a character in your file, so increment the characters variable. I hope you understood this. Then what you'll do? Then you'll print spaces is equal to what? This spaces variable. Then number of lines is equal to what? The content of this new line variable. Number of sentences is equal to what? The value of this cent variable. Number of words, that I'll tell you what I've done here. Then number of characters will be what? The value of this characters variable. Right? So that is what I'm going to print over here. Number of spaces, number of lines, number of sentences, words, and characters. So once let me run this file and then I'll explain further. So let me open my counter file. That is the same content I've written in my counter file 1.txt. So how many spaces, let us count. So you have Mount Everest, between that there is one space. So let me show you over here. Then you have a space over here, second space. Then you have third space, fourth space, then fifth space and sixth space, right? Over here, this is not a space, okay? This is what I'm doing, \n. And using that, I'm going to go on my next line. If there was a space over here after Everest, like suppose there is a space after Everest, okay, like I'm giving here, then when you select this, they should be like this. But if there is no space, you will not be able to select anything further, right? How I'm able to select this Everest? I cannot select anything here. That means I'm gone on the next line, right? So there's a space here between Mount and Everest, but after Everest, there is no space. Directly I've gone on the next line. So total number of spaces are where? Here, 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 and here. 6 spaces. That is what is getting printed over here. File opened successfully. Number of spaces is 6. Now let us count the number of lines. How many lines? What is the logic? If I get a \n character, like over here, if I get a \n, means I'm using the next line. Means how many \n characters will be there? After Mount Everest, there is one \n. After this next line, there is a \n. Here there is a \n. Here there is a \n. But here there is no \n. After this end full stop, there is no \n. Why? Because this is my last line, right? After this, there is no \n. This is the last line in my file. If I had one more line, then after end, I would press enter key and then I would write something. Okay. So what is the logic is, how many \n you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? How many \n's you have? 4. If you have 4 \n's in your file, that means there are 5 lines in your file, right? \n, \n. Here there is no \n. Means what? If there are 4 \n in your file, that means total number of lines is number of \n plus 1, right? If I have 4 \n in my file, then plus 1 is equal to total number of sentences. That means here I have how many sentences, or how many lines? Sorry, how many lines? 5 lines, right? At the last line, you don't have \n. That is why you can count only 4 \n plus 1 is the total number of lines in your file. I hope you have got this. So that is what I'm going to print here. Total number of sentences is what? In my sent variable, I must total number of lines, that is your new line. Here it is printing 4. Why? Because there is an error. Why it is printing 4? Because number of new line characters I have counted, and I'm going to print the number of lines based on how many new line characters I've got. How many new line characters I've got in this? I've got 4 new line characters. But number of lines will be what? 4 plus 1. So whenever I print the sent variable, I must write plus 1 over here. Right? So number of, sorry, over here. Number of lines is how much? Number of new line characters plus 1. So that is why I've written plus 1 here. Okay. So now when I run my program, number of lines is what? 5, as you can see here. Okay. And there are actually 5 lines in my file. Number of \n is only for the all these lines, and for the last line you don't have \n. That is why number of \n plus 1 is the total number of lines in your file. This is the logic to calculate number of lines in your file. Now to calculate number of sentences, it is a simple logic. What is the logic? If the character that you read is a full stop, exclamation mark, or question mark, that means the sentences, that is a one sentence. So where I'm getting full stop, here I'm getting a full stop or no. Where is the first full stop? Here. So this whole thing is one sentence. Then this here, see, the file content is not so small or anything, but to count the number of words, spaces and all, I have selected small content of the file, right? This can be a very big sentence also, but then manually to verify the program, it becomes difficult, right? So that is why I have written less content in my file, so that manually also I can count and show you whether the program is giving this correct output or not. In actual practice, there will be a lot of content in your file, not only this much, right? But for understanding purpose, I've written less content in my file. Okay. Direction, you may say, how is direction a sentence? Right? The sentence can be north is a direction. Okay, this is a proper English sentence. But to illustrate this example with less content, I have written like this. Okay, I hope you get it. You can have multiple content or large content in your file, but just for example, I've written less content in my file. So I get a question mark here, so this is another sentence. I get a exclamation mark, this is another sentence. I get a full stop here, another sentence. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So number of sentences should be 4. Let us see if I've got 4 in my program output. Right, number of sentences is 4. Just a minute. Number of sentences is 4. And number of characters, if you count, no? If you count the total number of characters, that is M, O, U, N, T, space, E, V, E, R, as it is like this, if you count all the characters, it will become 83. Okay, you can check that later at home if you want, because it is a tedious task to do it manually counting. Now, what about the number of words? Now, see, there are two possible cases. Maybe there is a single sentence in your file. The earth is round, suppose. Okay, how many words are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 words in this file, in the content of this file. So what is the logic? If there are 3 spaces, as you can see here, there is a space between the earth, there is a space between earth is, and there is a space between is round. So if there are 3 spaces total, then there will be 4 words, right? Because between a pair of words, between any 2 words, there is 1 space. Between any 2 words, there is 1 space. Between any 2 words, there is 1 space. So total number of spaces, if it is 3, 3 plus 1 is the total number of words in your file, right? I hope you understand this. If there are 3 spaces, total number of words is 4. Suppose, now this is my content. my file. So I will count the number of spaces as per the logic of my program. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So how many words should be there? Number of spaces plus 1, that is 8 plus 1, 9. Let us see if there are 9 words. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 words. So number of spaces plus 1 is the total number of words. But this is only if there is a single sentence and there is no backslash n in your file. That means there are no multiple lines in your file, but there can be, these are multiple sentences, right? First sentence, second sentence. So you can have multiple sentences on the same line. Line and sentence is different terminology. All this content is on a single line, but this content consists of two sentences. Why two sentences? Because I can see two full stops over here. Or maybe I can see a full stop and an exclamation mark. Okay. The termination of a sentence can be what? Full stop, question mark, or exclamation mark. Okay. So this content has two sentences, but it is on a single line. What if your content is on two lines? Now here I'm saying that there are two lines in my program, right? There are two lines. In the previous case, what was the case? There were two sentences, but on a single line. Now I'm saying that the content is on two lines and the content consists of two sentences. Now what I can say, there are three sentences, but they are on two lines. On the first line, there are two sentences, and on the next line, there is one sentence only. So total two lines, but three sentences, right? Now in such cases, if you go to apply that logic, that number of spaces plus one is equal to number of words, it will give you an error. Why? Because I'll tell you. Now just wait a minute, let me copy something. See here, let us see the number of spaces. 1, 2, just a minute. Let me write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is there a space here? What do you think? No. Here there is a backslash n character, right? Which is not visible to the reader of the file. But there is a backslash n. That is nothing but by pressing the enter key inside the file. So there is no space over here. Is there a space after the word thin? No. There is a backslash n. So what will happen? Here you will not count the space. So total number of spaces till now is 6. Now I'll go on the next line. Do I have a space before and? No. Then where is my next space over here? 7, 8, 9, and 10. And here is there a space? No, there is a backslash n. So total I have 10 spaces. I have 10 spaces. So by our logic, how many words should be there in a file? Can you answer this question? There should be 10 plus 1 words in our file, right? Because number of spaces plus 1 is equal to number of words in our file. So number of words should be 11. Let's check, are there 11 words in my file? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There are 12 words, not 11. Why? Because here we have not counted a space at this backslash n. So what it is assuming? It is assuming that after thin, there is no space and this and. So it is considering thin word and this and word as a single word, right? Because there is no space over here. After the word thin, there is no space. So it is assuming by our logic that thin and is a single word. That is why you're getting number of words as 1 less. You're getting 11 instead of 12. Right? So either one, okay. Let us try for one more sentence. Now let us try for this example, whether we are getting similar error or not. Let us count the number of spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is there a space here? No. So it is assume it is going to consider by the logic that thin and these two words are a single word because there is a no space between them. Okay. So let us further count the number of spaces. 7, 8, 9, 10. Is there a space over here? No. So it will consider that Pune word and great are a single word. Okay. Now next let us continue. Space number 11. Is there a space here? No. There is nothing. End of file. So total number of spaces is how much? 11 spaces. So by our logic, total number of words should be what? 12. That is 11 plus 1. Let us see if there are 12 words in this or no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So this time what is happening? Instead of 12, the correct answer is 14. That means plus 2. Right? So instead of testing like this each time, you must use another generalized logic so that you get the correct number of words. If all the sentences are on a single line, then there will be a space between thin word and word, right? So that time it will consider thin and as two different words. But since they are going on the next line, thin and is becoming a single word because there is no space between thin and. Okay. So what is the remedy for this problem is use the correct logic, use the initial logic, that is words is equal to number of spaces plus 1. And then you add the number of new line characters, right? You will add the number of new line characters after this. That means words plus is equal to new line. That means it is nothing but words is equal to words plus number of new line characters. And then you decrement words by 1, right? Why we have to do this? Because you will decrement the number of words by 1 because first you will add the number of spaces, then you will add the number of new line characters, and you will, where is that? Here. Since at the last over here you do not find a new line character, so you are going to decrement by 1. Okay. So first let me run this program and show you what kind of output we get. So number of words is 10 over here. Okay. Let us see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11. Okay, just a minute. So what you must do, instead of, you must not decrement by 1, okay? Because you are not going to get a new line character at the end over here. Over here, you are not going to get the new line character. So you must simply add the total number of new line characters. Okay, let's run through this once again. So here you have 11 spaces, but you need another 2 spaces. Why you need another 2 spaces? Because after thin, you must consider a space, and after Pune, you must consider a space so that you can differentiate between the words thin and so that the words Pune and great become 2 separate words as per the logic. So what happens whenever you get a new line character after the word thin and whenever you get a new line character after the word Pune, that time you have to insert another space. You must increment the space variable. So whenever you get a new line character, you must increment by 1. So if the character is a space, then also increment the count. And even if the character is a new line character, then also increment the count. Right? Is this clear? If you get a space, you will increment by our logic. And if you get a new line character, then also you must increment, so that you can think of a space between the word thin and the word and. Right? Similarly, after the word Pune, you will get a new line character. You get a new line character over here. Whenever you get a new line character, it will not be a space. So Pune word and great word will be considered as one word only. So what you will do, if you get a new line character, then also increment by 1. So when you will increment this, uh, when you will increment only if it is a space and only if it is a new line character, right? And here you don't get a new line character after the last word in the file. So here, what I've done, the number of words is number of spaces plus 1, that is the normal logic, plus you will add the total number of new line characters, right? Only this much. Okay, don't go for words minus words is equal to words minus 1. Don't do that. Okay, sorry for that incorrectness. Total number is what? Number of spaces plus 1 plus the total number of new line characters, okay, which we have already counted. So now when you run this program, number of words is 11, which I have printed. Let us see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So let us dry run this also once again. See, whenever I get a space, I have to increment the variable. Suppose the variable words is the variable name. Okay. So I'm getting a space here. So 1, I'm getting a new line character here. Even if I get new line character or space, both the times I must increment. So this is my second increment. Here also I will increment, it becomes 3. Here I increment, then words will become 4. Here I increment, words will become 5. Here also new line characters I must increment. So the content of the words variable will become 6. Then here I am getting new line. Here also again I will increment. So content of the variable words is 7. Here I will increment, I'm getting a space. Here I will increment, I'm getting a new line character. Here I will increment, I'm getting a space. And here also I will increment because I'm getting new, I'm not getting anything. Okay. So total number is what? Number of spaces I have incremented, right? Whenever I got a space, I have incremented, right? And whenever I got a new line character, then also I have incremented. By doing this, I have got the total number of, I've got the value as 10 by incrementing at a space and by incrementing at a new line character. By incrementing at the space and by incrementing at the new line character, I have got the value as 10. Right? I have got the value as 10. But the number of words is 11. So that is why our normal logic says what? Spaces plus 1. Right? Instead of doing this, what you can do spaces. Then you can do plus the new line. And you can also do plus 1. Okay? So these 3 things you must do if the file consists of multiple lines. That means one after the other on different lines. If you have the content, then this is the way to count the number of words. The number of words is equal to the number of spaces plus the number of new line characters plus 1. Right? I hope you have got this. But if there is only the content which is only present on a single line, that means only on the first line, then what is the logic? Number of words is equal to number of spaces plus 1. Okay, as we have discussed. If there is a single line, I'm not talking about sentences. If there is a single line in your file, the number of words is number of spaces plus 1. But If the content of the file is distributed over different lines, then the content of the file is number of spaces plus number of new line characters plus 1, right? This is the change. So I hope you have got this program, both these programs, copying the content from one file to another. And when there are when we have to count the number of words, spaces, characters, lines, sentences in your file. Okay. So thank you for watching this video. If you have any doubts, you can contact me. Thank you.